Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I am your Evelyn O'Shorty. We're going to have a look at the second volume of Survival Street today. I wasn't going to review this one because I've already read and reviewed volume 1 of Survival Street, or this first issue of it. And if I was professional right now, I'd say there's going to be a link in the description to go and check out that review. But honestly, I'm not great at what I do here. I'm just talking to camera for a few minutes. So go Google it. It's out there. You can watch if you want to. The reason I'm going to review this is because actually some really good content stuff I want to review in here, or at least want to talk about, because I think it's positive stuff worth talking about. And that means it's going to be like very heavily on the political kind of stuff, because this is an anarchist comic book. And there's a lot of people out there who are going to be like, well, that doesn't interest me, you just want to know if it's good or not, so that's fine. So here's your two warnings. Number one, I'm absolutely going to go over my 5-minute limit. And number two, most of that is going to be spent talking about anarchism. So for the people who just want to know if this is a good comic book, right, here we go. Let's do the review quick as we can. It's a great comic book. Artwork is fantastic. Highly stylized because it's very cartoony, but that kind of works. This is a world where there are literally sentient puppets, sorry, not Muppets. They're very, very clear about that. That's my mistake, not theirs. And there are robots that teach kids, and it's a fantasy sci-fi kind of world, so having a cartoony style where your main characters look like this, it works. If anything, the fact that we're dealing with like really dark, intense, really, really intense subject matter, it kind of works for me. I don't know if this is an everyone kind of thing, but I feel like seeing these characters discuss it, I think it kind of puts us in a position where we have to accept that it does affect everyone. It's also fantastically well written. Characters are brilliant. If I was going to give it one criticism though, I'd say that although we do have some really nice little bite-sized character intros very early on for this one to let people get back on board, if you've not read volume 1, you are going to miss some context here, because they don't spend a lot of time on exposition. They kind of throw you right into the middle of it, and there's some individual nice bits of world building going on here, but for the most part, if you haven't read volume 1, just go and read volume 1. It's well worth your time anyway. If you're going to enjoy this one, you absolutely should be reading volume 1 anyway. Right, on to the anarchism now. Right, here we go. Basic story for this is a bunch of puppets from a TV show that got bought out by corporate interests and realised that they kind of exist to help people and to be nice and to show that everyone that the world is better than it actually can be, or if better than it actually is and it can be better. And they decide to basically quit the TV show and go and try to make change. I want to say make change, I don't mean like incrementally. I don't mean change the system or fix the system. They are talking about destroying things, tearing things down in the hope of building something fresh. On threads earlier, I was talking about the famous anarchist quote of, we do not fear at all the ruins. We have a new world in our heart. This is a very important thing for this comic book, because for the first volume, we are mostly dealing with them tearing stuff down. In the first issue, that's a lot of what we're getting here. There's quite nice world building when we get this idea of what it means to be living in one of the corporate control cities. And when I say corporate control, I mean like corporations have bought government at this point. They have entire cities where they are nothing but indentured servants, children in workhouses instead of schools, and they do some nice little bits and pieces here with the idea that school hours were like 16 hours a day. So the parents could actually work without having to worry about childcare. But when they got their like statements at the end of the year, the costs of education had tripled, so they had to keep working because they were like deeply, deeply in debt. And when you're that badly in debt, it doesn't really matter that like you don't get much food or the healthcare is just enough to keep your life and carry on working. You're already in that much debt that you're never going to pay it off. You might as well just carry on because it's still sometimes better than the alternative, which is a big point we get here, because it starts with the freeing some people and blowing stuff up and doing the anarchist thing of trying to tear down these systems of control. But then with these people who now are just kind of homeless, without really any way to survive, because it's not like they've left that world into some kind of anarchist utopia. It's a modern world where so many things that people need to survive are still run for private profit, like housing and food, education, healthcare, transport, utilities. All these things are still run for profit. And if you don't have a job because corporations have indentured servants, then you're gonna struggle because hardly anyone else will employ you. And housing, again, because it would be provided by the company you work for, if you want to get a house, you kind of have to be self-reliant and not have to worry about having a job. So it makes housing very, very expensive. And they get thrown into this kind of hellscape of it, really. And our Survival Street fellas and puppets don't really know how to deal with it. Some people are like, well, that's not our job. We're here to free these people. We're here to tear down these systems of control. Other people are like, no, we actually want to help. We actually want to do something after the fact. And it feels like at an end of issue 1, this could be like a really downer kind of issue, but I don't feel like it is. I feel like what we hit is that point of like, yeah, okay, they are tearing stuff down, but the entire point of it is they don't fear ruins because they have a new world in their heart. They are going to be wanting to build something else, build something with mutual aid and free healthcare and I'm thinking the Black Panther Party now, and yes, I know a lot of people have issues or have thoughts on the Black Panther Party, but they fed kids, they had ambulances that were free for people, they squatted so people could have homes. With the mass incarceration of people of colour in America up to this day, they made sure that there were free buses so people could go and visit their families, or families could visit the inmates. They did great things to actually help people in society. And yes, issue 1 ends on a bit of a downer, but I feel like we could be, after the burning stuff down kind of volume 1, we're now into building a new world, and I feel like it's going to be joyful. It's going to be hard, because it always will be. Anarchist societies usually fail because capitalists that have the control over not only money but government and institutions, is why institutional racism and stuff like that is a big issue. But they have existed. It is possible. A better world is possible, and I'd like to think that the creators of this comic book, who aren't really that much online, I don't know if they're ever going to see this video, but if they do, I want them to know that I really appreciate what they're doing. I think they've got the right idea, and I can't wait to see how this second volume turns out. I absolutely loved it. That's it for me for now, and for the week. I'm done. Sorry this one has gone over by a little bit, but I'll be back next week with more reviews. Until then, look after each other, everyone. Stay safe.